and a huge welcome to the Entrepreneurs Circus, where we don't just talk business, we talk about the real, messy, chaotic life behind the scenes. I'm your host, Charlotte Wibberley, ready to dive headfirst into the sea of highs, lows, and everything in between that comes with being a parent running a business while also wrestling with the other curveballs that life throws our way. So grab yourself a cuppa, or better yet, pour yourself a gin. It's time to gear up for raw, unfiltered chats with fellow business owners navigating the high wire of being a CEO, the juggling act of parenting, and the merry mess that accompanies it all. This is entrepreneurship in its glorious chaos. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 1 of the Entrepreneurs Circus. I'm really, really excited to be bringing this series to you to talk about all of the highs and the lows and everything that goes in between when it comes to running a business. I am joined today by my lovely, lovely fellow friend and masterminder, the wonderful Fiona Fraser, who is the podcast expert, and we'll be talking about juggling business, life, kids, all of it. So welcome, Fiona.
Hello, thank you so much. I'm honoured to be guest number 1. This means you need to keep it to episode 1 now.
You had to be number 1, didn't you? Come on.
I am number 1, of course I am.
I am the one. Oh my goodness, there would be no one else. What can I say?
Oh gosh.
So, my love, for those that don't know you listening, who are you? What do you do?
I'm Fiona Fraser, I think. I'm known as a couple of things in life. Mum, probably number 1, I guess. And I'm the director and founder of Power PR, which is the UK's first and only podcast PR agency. I work with some big talent, big productions in the UK on their podcast through PR and promotion. And then online, you might have seen me. If you're on Instagram, you'll know me as the podcast expert, where I'm just talking generally about a lot about podcasts and how great they are. So, and also you might have heard me on a couple, because I too tend to do quite a lot of interviews.
Mm-hmm. And as Fee was telling me just before this, I am lucky to have her on. But genuinely,
I couldn't say that on the recording. That sounds terrible. But yes, thank you.
But genuinely, it's an honour to have you on, my dear, because you've obviously been instrumental in helping me to figure out what I do with my podcast. So thank you for that.
You're so welcome.
And it's fun. So sorry, say again.
I do love the name. I think you nailed it now.
The Entrepreneurs Circus, it had to be for me when I started looking at my life with my puppy, my husband, my kids, my business, well, various different businesses. I was like, this feels like a massive circus, and I cannot be the only person that's sitting there feeling like a struggling ringmaster going, how the hell do I keep my lion tamer and my acrobats and my clowns all happy so that I can have 5 minutes peace? And it's in fact, that's what we were talking about just before we got onto this recording, wasn't it? We were talking about how the juggle goes, and the fact that we feel like there's not enough hours in the day. So I mean, how do you manage it, Fee? Because you've got a little one. How's your work-life balance going?
Yeah, I guess it depends what day and hour and minute of the day you ask me, if I'm honest. I actually did have this weekend, I did have quite a big breakthrough, and I feel quite at peace with like plans, but that could honestly change on a spin of like a dime. It's just like I'm back to everything's chaos, don't know what I'm doing, all my plans are rubbish, and generally just feeling shit in like a second, because I've seen like an ad saying, oh, someone told me today, they were like, everything you're doing to grow an audience is wrong. And I hate that sort of marketing. I can never see me say everything you're doing is wrong. The minute I see that, I'm just like, fuck you, because this is like, and I'm so like getting wise to it now, because I'm still new to all the online stuff. But I do think you have to be careful with anyone telling you like everything you're doing is wrong. You're creating this kind of horrible feeling inside of you, and that's no way to sell, which is me going peace. But when you're just absorbing all of this information all the time, it's so easy, you're like to be just put off by someone trying to sell you something like that. So I think trying to become wise to that, I've got a very successful PR agency, which is super intensive time wise. I'm trying to do the online stuff to kind of like have a bit of a balance. It's not working particularly well most of the time, but I've had, I've started to bring in support, and I've got really good support in the people I have got. and I've spent time finding them, because it could be so easy just to. Last year I was throwing money at things because I was looking for a way out.
Yeah.
And that's not the way to do it either. So it's kind of, you live and you learn with all of this stuff, really.
I feel like that's the life of an entrepreneur, right? Trial and error.
Yeah.
Put yourself out there, try something and go, it worked, brilliant, let's repeat.
And that's experimentation. That's not failing.
Yeah.
That is not failing. Trying something and it not working, it's not a personal fail on you and your business. And it doesn't mean things are going shit. It means that you've put something out that you think's worked, you got some feedback, you refine it and you go again. Because that's the other thing I'm learning. When you're coming from a place of like, as I say, in the podcast industry, I'm very well known. I am the expert. I am leading the way in this PR stuff that I'm doing. No one else is doing it. I'm 3 years in. So like, I'm going to train big companies. I've had in the last month 2 national newspapers call me up to ask me how to start their podcast. This is a level I'm at. And this high level of success that I've worked in, in organisations like BBC for 9 years. I've run PR in the biggest production companies in the UK. I have no failure rate, in those level of job. So to start a new business, which is essentially what I've done with the podcast expert, it's scary and vulnerable to feel like I'm new at something. It's like it doesn't feel good, but actually it's really fun. If you can just be like, it's fun, and if you don't look at your data, get someone to look at it, because I'm very aware that I'm not a data person like you, and it's really important. So getting that support in for the bits that you think, they're not weaknesses, but they're gaps in your business. If you're like, I can't do data, get someone to look at the data,
Yeah.
And like, don't be egotistical about it. Like it's easy to be done. Like, I could do it all myself. It's like, we can't all do everything. We just can't. And I was at an event this weekend and someone said, a 7 out of 10 is good enough when you're getting someone else to do a job, because everybody can't be a 10 out of 10 your level, or that wouldn't work as a structure.
Yeah.
So
but it's one of the, it's so true, isn't it? Why can't I just have a little army of clones of me that value things as much as I do? And
that would actually be a nightmare.
Can you imagine?
If there was 4 of me working with 4 of me, like
one of us would need more wine, that's for sure. But it's one of those things, isn't it? I definitely learn the hard way that you can't do everything yourself, because I feel like, especially when we start, we go, oh, we're really able people, we can set up the businesses, we can do all the things, and then it becomes harder as you then go along to go, actually I need to relinquish some of that so that I can actually serve myself and serve the business. And certainly for me, that ended in 2 major periods of burnout, because I just was doing everything and trying to be a mum and trying to do all the other things, and actually my body was just like, no.
And it's so easy, because you actually can do it all.
Yeah.
I can, you can, most entrepreneurs can, because that's, they're already like, they've put themselves in a situation, they've come out of traditional, the workplace, because it's probably quite constricting, and they are like very good at lots of things. So it could be really, really hard to try and manage your energy and just be like, no, this is not. And I'm still new to all of this. I'm only kind of just over a year in, really. I didn't know what funnel was like this time almost a year ago. I would say, like, I've even got a hobby, it's work.
Yeah.
So the only other things I like doing are the spa.
Yes.
Cinema.
Yes. Parenting.
Oh, parenting.
Sometimes take it or leave it, some days.
The day-to-day parenting, probably I can't say is mostly me. That's the absolute honest truth. We have just managed to get approval of my husband to go down to 4 days a week, which has felt like a really big thing. This only happened last week, and this is going to be huge for our family, because we recognise was part of this thing of like, I'm building this ultimate flexible lifestyle, and he's in a job is the ultimate restrictive job. And we were like, well, how can we get a gap somewhere? And him having 1 day off a week felt like winning the lottery for us at this point.
Yeah, and you know what? I love that. And it's like it's the steps towards where you want to get to as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's the steps. It doesn't have to be perfect right now. You're taking the steps now so that you can start to grow the business, and he can step out of that restrictive job to
yeah.
move towards the way you want it to be.
I honestly think hopefully he'll be happier. Like, not that he was unhappy, but I think it'll be who wouldn't want to work one day less a week? Sure,
This is so funny. So when I set my business up, it was 10 years now. Oh my God. But when I was 2 or 3 years into business, it must have been less than that, about 2 years into business, and I was pregnant with my daughter. At that time, my husband ended up taking, well, at the time, sabbatical out of his paid job, and then ended up leaving and getting garden leave to set up his own business. But that was a really important, but quite an unusual move as well for a man in a corporate job to go to reduced hours to help with family life.
Yeah.
So it's, I'm sure it is more seen now, but it's still not very widely
seen. The reaction's been quite mixed, actually.
Yeah.
And we don't have if you want to look at like traditional inverted commas relationships in terms of gender roles, we definitely don't have them. I just told you he does the dinner every single night. Like, I don't ever do the dinner. He does bath and bedtime every single night. And I do all the morning stuff because he's not here. So that's my time with my daughter. And we kind of are like, we almost just like work out where the strengths are and go with that. Because by that time of night, there's nothing left of me. Which is not a great thing sometimes, but it is just the reality of it. If like we want to, I don't want to work 4 days a week. I mean, I'll kind of do-ish, if I'm honest, because I'll take hours out here and there, but I don't want to be restrictive in terms of like, right, I close my laptop on the Thursday at 5 and I'm done. And that's because, I almost wish I was that person. And I have nothing against people like that. I think it's great, but I just don't have those kind of, if I start to restrict myself, I feel unhappy in any sense. I actually, I'm now super obsessed with disc profiling. And something, when I read my report yesterday, it said my ultimate goal is freedom of control. And I was like, yeah, it is, because if you start to even to create a balance by saying, well, I won't do this, or I have to do that, that's still a sense of control. And it's not freedom.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's funny, isn't it? Like, I was just reading, like, in my bio, I was talking about like work-life balance. I think it's more like, because I'm the same as you. I like to be able to work when I want to work and not work when I don't want to work. And sometimes that will be standard hours, and sometimes it'll be like whatever standard hours it is. And sometimes it won't be. Whereas, like, I think about some other people I know, and like even my own husband, he has his own business, but he wants to work 9 to 5. And that's when he wants to work, and he wants his evenings to be his own. But I think that is the ultimate freedom, to be able to go, how does it all integrate in a way that means that you get to create when you're feeling creative, and you get to rest when you're feeling like you're knackered. And
the balance is knowing when to stop, though. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Absolutely.
And that is really key, because there are some days I can just keep going, and I have to say, just stop. Because I always keep telling myself this lie of, if you just get this done, if you just get that done, it clears your plate. It doesn't.
No.
It doesn't. Nothing gets cleared. There is no clearing to be done.
I can't remember who it was in the mastermind I was talking to week before last, but I think it might have been Georgina. But I was talking to her and saying that I'd come in and looked at all the things that I had to do, and got to the point of going, like, there's so much on my list that I might as well not do any.
Yeah.
It's like a state of complete overwhelm and, paralysis. Whereas like some days you go in and you will have the energy to tackle that and like really feel like you can get to the top of the mountain. But it's not like a level you can just like complete it in a game. I feel like there's always stuff to be doing in business.
There is, and like if you're kind of a doer, which I think sounds like we both are, then actually that's a form of procrastination.
What the flitting,
like a big one, because you're like, if I just keep moving and doing, then that means we're going forwards, and it might not. It might mean you're going backwards and you don't even see it.
So for you then, like talking about that and thinking about the fact that I think you said something like, just because you can doesn't mean you should, like keep going. Like, how do you become aware of when you need to stop?
I think I get really angry. So that's what. Yeah, honestly, I'm an when I used to work in TV, I was angry all the time. Like literally, that was my state of being, was anger. And then since I've been working myself, as much as I am busy and there's so much going on, I'm not angry. You just you won't see me losing it on a minute by minute basis. So as soon as I feel that kind of like actually this is anger kicking in, then I know I have to down tools. Even though I'm like in that state of like your energy, you've got a weird energy and like I just get this done and then it's sorted. It's like if you can learn just to stop at that point, then rather than keep feeling like you're pushing through. Then you will wake up the next day and kind of feel better for it. And I'm not saying it's always going to be perfect and you're like, oh, I'll just stop now, I'll have the perfect relaxing evening or whatever to recover. You won't, but I don't know, everyone's just learning as much as they can, aren't they, as they go. Well, anyway.
No, 100%. Even like 10 years in, I still feel like there's stuff. Well, I do learn every single day. Sometimes that's uncomfortable insights about myself, and sometimes that's like new skills or whatever.
That's exhausting as well. When I used to have a job, no one made me learn shit. I used to have a yearly meeting when they'd be like, "Have you selected a online training course to attend?" And it's probably on bloody something like modern slavery. When you're like, okay, this. Like, look, I'm all about understanding the politics of the world, but this doesn't really affect my day-to-day job. Okay, this is all about procurement, essentially. I'm doing a PR job, working in the media and PR. No one expected me to learn anything ever. And then you come out of a job and you're like, all you do is learning. And I think I am quite addicted to learning as well. That's one of the things that drew me into it. I think as soon as I started finding like people teaching online, I was like, this is incredible. Because I'll be going to the local colleges and they're so behind, but even that sometimes just like there's also like take some time to digest before you act. And that's something I did this weekend where I had a lot of things come up for me and I sat with them, which I'm not good at doing. And today I can honestly say I've been like, right, I just need to keep coming back to the plan. The plan is there, and not get like every day, oh my God, what am I doing? Someone said this don't work. Someone said that don't work. Apply your own logic to some of this stuff as well, because you'll be, you know what you're doing. You've got this far.
Yeah. And it's going back to that. It's so easy to get distracted.
Yeah. That
picking a plan and focusing on it and going all in on that can be the best thing to do. It's easier said than done, I have to admit. Like a city person, but I think you do have to double down sometimes on your efforts and stick with something rather than trying sort of to do everything and be everything to everyone. That's definitely what I tried in my first 5 years of business. I will do everything and be everything for everybody.
I think because I came out of employment and I've kept doing that thing didn't change, and then with the stuff I'm doing now, potentially the ideas and what it looks like might have changed a bit, but I feel like it's more for me, I get the stress because the implementation is slower than I'd like it to be, and I get angry at myself about that. But equally, sometimes that's just part of the process, and you just need to it's correct. A lot of us doing these kind of jobs are really creative people, and that is part of the creative process. So it's just so easy to beat ourselves up. And I am jealous sometimes of friends who have paid holidays, and I met a friend for lunch recently and they were like, I haven't done this bit of work today. I'm like, fuck yeah. I don't, but it's down to me to prioritize seeing people and like going out and saying yes to the things I want to do, but just make sure they are the things you want to do, because that's going to help as well. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Like, stop. There's a problem. Like, it's not going to happen if you don't want to do it.
There's definitely that element, right, of going, sometimes the grass is always greener. I think, exactly that. Your friends that are like, oh, paid holiday, got this, private healthcare, and I'm sitting there kind of going, but equally, I just know I could never go back to a corporate job because of the freedom of that being your own boss brings when it comes, which was what inspired me to start my business, was around the children and the freedom I give. But now, even, you know, not completely shoving my kids aside, but even just as a person, the freedom to be able to pick and choose what I do and when I do it.
Yeah,
I just wouldn't go back. I couldn't. I'd be terrible. They'd fire me.
No, and I did actually post something yesterday about like I pretty much left TV because I was on call weekends and evenings, completely out of my control.
I can imagine.
And that I'd be in the park and like my phone would be going, or I remember once I went to Secret Cinema and you're not allowed to take your phone in. And I had 2 phones because one was a work phone, which I hid down my bra. And I was going into the toilet,
Brilliant.
dealing with quite a serious issue. And we had to leave. And it just to this day, it still pisses me off.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, that would never happen in this business, that I went somewhere like that to enjoy a day and I had to leave. That just wouldn't happen. Number one. And number two, if I do choose to do some work in the evening to avoid bedtime, which is probably what I'm doing sometimes, then that's the truth and it's on me.
Yeah.
It's like, that's my choice. It's the control thing again. Like if it's within my control, I can choose, then I'm happy. But when you're when it's just like you're just a slave to somebody else, it's no good. And I'm not saying every single job is like that. I'm sure there are some jobs that are not like that. I just haven't really come across them.
No, and there's part of it, I suppose, for us, it's like about setting our own boundaries, and you know, it's much harder in a corporate role to set those boundaries, and you know, because there's people we're answering to on a daily basis. And yes, as business owners, we answer to our clients, but we determine how we sort of deliver on that, and how, you know, when and how we have to be on call. And I think, you know, that's one of the things that possibly entrepreneurs find really hard, is to set their own boundaries and then stick to them as well.
But again, I think that's the problem. If you're like if you're creating this thing about you have to stick to this, you have to stick to that, like just like you're then just giving yourself another thing to fail at. And just like loosen that up a bit and say, ideally, this is what a week looks like for me. Because that's what I've gone through and done actually literally yesterday, is like designed my week and what are the things that, you know, how does it look? And it's not always specific, but it's like spa twice a month. Like I just have to go and do it because and I've put it in my diary that it's happening. I pay for one of them as well, because then it's the money's gone out of the account, so
non-negotiable.
Yeah, and I don't, I find it hard to spend money on myself like that. It feels awful, but like this is what I need to do the rest of it.
Yeah, and in the end, you are the biggest asset that your business has. So you need to make sure, I know it's a cliche, but you do need to make sure that you do the things that are going to make you actually operate.
Yeah, 100%. And then like on a more boring note, I've paid myself a pension the last 2 months, because guess what? I always got paid a pension.
Yeah.
And it's like, actually that's become non-negotiable for me, is that I need to pay myself a small pension. And I've worked out kind of what I'm working up to, what I want ideally. But I'm halfway at the minute in the last 2 months, but it feels really good to be treating myself well. Like that. And healthcare will be on the list at some point. And this is like basics that you get in a job, but like we can't not give ourselves the absolute basics.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that in mind, thinking about the juggle, the self-care, the boundaries, if you are sitting there face to face with somebody that's, just started this entrepreneur journey and is thinking, oh my God, this is bloody hard, is there a piece of advice that you would give them that you wish that you'd been told when you started?
Everybody's right and everybody's wrong.
Love it.
So it doesn't matter in the end.
Just do what you like. Yeah,
if you want, seriously, because it's just like there's been a conversation today with 2 people who are massively successful at what they do, and they both do the absolute opposite. I don't know if you might have seen it. We won't mention what it was, but I asked a question and they're the opposite ends. They just do the opposite to each other, and it's like, but that the one that does that is right, and the one that does that is right because it's right for them. So just sort of like, just always think about when you're seeing stuff and learning and you also do have your own opinion on a lot of these things.
I think it can be so noisy in the business world, right? That sometimes we forget to listen to our own intuition, because we actually probably know best what is, and we can take advice and things, but we probably know ultimately what's best for our clients.
No one can know your business but you, and no one can serve your clients, all the value but you. You could take advice and all of that and learn and improve for sure, but you're the expert at all times. So just, if you feel yourself getting sort of like seeing something that undermines that, just like really quickly catch yourself and don't let that sort of like seep in and ruin your day. Because I've been really guilty of that. Again, on the dish thing, I'm a very high eye, which means that, my attention to detail is very low. And so when I see someone talk in detail, that just throws me, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting this all wrong. But actually, if I go back and check, it's like, I'm not at all. It's just the way they present their information as well is different to how I do it. So we all communicate differently as well. Yeah, I love it. Everybody's right. Everybody's wrong. Everybody's really wrong.
Mic drop. Leave it out. Add it out. Oh. Well, it's been amazing having you on, Fiona. Thank you so much for being my episode 1 guest. I'm sure that everybody's really going to enjoy us talking about basically trying to keep our shit in order. Yeah. If people want to come and find you, where can they find you?
Find me on Instagram at the podcast expert, and then I'm very active on LinkedIn as well with my industry contacts. So that's just Fiona Fraser.
Lovely. Amazing. Well, look, have a really good rest of your day. For everybody listening, thank you for listening. If you want to come on and talk about the way that you manage your own circus, get in touch and we can book you on as a guest. But yeah, for now, Fee, thank you so much for joining me, my love, and have a great rest of your day. That's it for today. If something sparked your interest or you have a story that needs sharing, don't hesitate to get in touch. Details are in the show notes, or just look me up on social media. And before you leave, make sure you're subscribed to be the first in the know when the next episode's out. Until then, remember, this is your circus. So embrace the chaos and keep juggling. See you next time.